Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And we are sponsored by the Kiva Centers. The Kiva Centers is a nationally recognized Indigenous led peer run trauma informed organization. The organization focuses on development, promotion of healing communities for people experiencing different social class impacts like trauma, mental health, and substance use. You are listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. And welcome back, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching us live on Facebook. I truly really am excited and I am really appreciative of all the support that everyone has poured into Unity Radio in general, especially Talking Wellness. We put a lot of effort and thought into the show, and we really have some exciting, good, educated, enlightening people that do come on the show.
Amazing
So
guest.
very excited, and I'm really happy that Kiva is definitely sponsoring and allowing me to do this. So Kelvin, tell me what's up with Kiva, because I am following you guys, and I'm like, what? They got this going? What? So let us know.
A lot going on, a lot of interesting things. So where do I even start? So we're leaving the Main Street location from the 427. We're gonna go to Shrewsbury Street, 172 Shrewsbury Street. We're not entirely sure when the RLC is gonna be up and running, but we'll let you guys know soon. We've changed our logo, we've changed our website. So for me, the website's a lot easier to navigate, see the groups and see what's going on. So
what is the website?
It's kivacenters.org.
Okay.
And pretty much it just gives you an idea of what Kiva's about, our groups, and to kind of like fill in for the missing time we have in the RLC. We've been doing group outings.
Yep.
Going to the Worcester Art Museum. All we do is just ask for people to find their own transportation, but we pay for everything. We went to the Equatorium. Today, actually, we went to Dunkin' Donuts and we had a bunch of gift cards and we were just buying the Kiva members some coffees and things, just talking, catching up, went to the library. It was really nice. So next week, for those who are interested in the other outings, just go on the website, kivacenters.org, and you'll be able to see what we got going on. So
nice.
A lot of change.
Yeah, I did see that online where, if you follow them on Facebook, all those announcement pops up that you guys are doing a lot of traveling or taking people out on trips.
Yes.
Different events. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Love it. Love it. All right. We have a guest today by the name of Jorell Reyes. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you said it right.
Yes, I remember. How are you doing, Jorell?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
And you also like people to call you Rel, right?
Yeah, Rel or Remarks, also known as Remarks. It's my artist name.
Remarks. Okay. I'm going to call you Rel.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, Rel and I go back a little because when I was a director for Northeast Family Services, I did hire him on as a therapeutic support. So that was really exciting to have worked with you. And I love that people, still reach out if they need support and that sort of thing. So it's good that we stay connected. But what I do notice now, like we're connected on Facebook, is that you have your own podcast. You have a lot going on. I like what you put on Facebook. It's very enlightening, especially geared towards men as well. So tell us about yourself, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we go back. I had the pleasure of working with you, and that kind of shapes everything and my interest in psychology and mental health and all that. But yeah, basically I have a podcast. I haven't been as consistent with it, but it was an idea that sparked recently. I've been very interested in just talking about mental health in men and speaking, having the conversations that men are afraid to have because I see a lot of men in my life affected that are suffering in silence, and so that kind of sparked everything. I also do music. I'm trying to be more positive and just pour positivity into the community and just try to heal or help heal others.
Absolutely.
But I'm from Brooklyn. I was born and raised. Like I said, I went to school for psychology and criminal justice, so it's always been a passion of mine. Just finding out how we think and why we think the ways we think, and so that's a little background, a little blurb on me.
Yeah, definitely. And a New Yorker here from Harlem, New York.
Hey,
Massachusetts is a great state. I mean, it has a lot to offer. And people like when I moved here, they were like, "What are you doing here?" If you've lived somewhere for a long time and you know the ins and the outs, you just want to get out and grow, right?
That's how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I guess people who've been here all their life in the Massachusetts state, like, you might want to get out and grow, right?
Yeah.
And explore other places, and that's okay. It's different for everyone. Everyone picks up a different vibe.
Hmm.
But I like the standards of the state. I
Yeah.
think they're ahead, and every other state tends to follow. They're very particular about certain things, especially having to do with psychology and sciences and all of that research.
definitely. I
So
agree
tell
with
us
you.
so tell us about your journey with I think this is interesting and I'm really glad you're here today because when we're speaking about psychology and mental health, we talk about it normally from a broad perspective, families and children, women, relationships, but I think for this show, like particularly and for men, I think that's important. Like in
Hmm.
coming from a man's perspective and letting others know what that's like, right? Because I can talk about it from my perspective because I do counsel men a lot, but it's good to hear it from the horse's mouth. Let people know why you're wanting to enlighten other people on this topic, especially men. What are the internal struggles that men have with mental health?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep,
Oh,
it's
sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about like the inspiration behind your work, like with men and working with them.
Oh yeah. Like I said, definitely just seeing people. Well, first doing the work myself.
Hmm.
Kind of being stuck in a rut. Like habitual patterns, things you can't get away from. Life drama, all
Hmm.
that stuff, and being stuck. So I finally said like enough is enough. I invested in myself, and I got a mentor. So
Hmm.
shout out to Sebastian. He's been a mentor for me,
Hmm.
and uh, give me 1 second.
Hmm.
Sorry about that. So yeah, getting a mentor, and then just putting in the work and finding God, finding spirituality, and then just seeing the men in my life like how they are suffering in silence, and just trying to break that mold and trying to break the cycle in the generation, and just talk about doing the inner work. The shadow work is like
Hmm.
what they call it, whatever, and just putting it out there and trying to be an inspiration to others so that they can, like I said, just talk, bringing up the topics that men are too afraid to have nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's really important that, spirituality is really good. We're both into spirituality, right? You
Yeah.
said you're a spiritual
Yeah.
person. I'm definitely a spiritual person. I know that you're a spiritual person now. I don't know that you were back then, right? But it's good to see how you have grown and like you've come into your own and something may have happened, obviously, for you to tap into that, like with most people. Um, so when we think about men and mental health, and you don't have to pull from your examples, like what are some things that you're seeing, right? Because spirituality is like I feel you're really tapping into things, right? That can make you also you have to be vulnerable because you're tapping into unknown territory. You're being receptive to certain things that you can be very empathetic towards. And sometimes men have up like a shield, a wall, right? And some of those things can't get through. So then they're not receptive. It's either black or white. They have to be hardcore about things, so to speak.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's something that we're conditioned
Mhm.
as men, especially like in the minority community and stuff like that. Like we don't speak about our feelings. It's a sign of weakness.
Mhm.
We have to put up a facade for everybody
Mhm.
so that everybody can be good. Which again, I believe there's half truth in that, but definitely it's not good when we suffer in silence. It leads to addiction. It leads to depression. It leads to bitterness. And
Mhm.
like I said, I feel like there's not to disrespect men, but I feel like there's a lot of weak men in
Mhm.
society, and I feel like if we can fix that, if we can heal that, if we can start doing the work, then I feel like that's just gonna improve the world and improve our communities because we need to be the leaders. We need to lead the women and the children and just be better examples than what we're showing now. You know.
Right, and it's hard for men to find outlets too because it's like they're supposed to take it, right? Like you said. You mentioned something about something being half true, right? What do
Yeah.
you mean by that?
Just my personal opinion. I do feel like we need to be strong. We need to be able to control our
Mhm.
emotions. We need to
Right.
be able to um bear the weight of it all, and not break. So I think sometimes there's benefit in putting a facade, or in just in being tough. But like I said, I think men need to find outlets,
Absolutely.
and people. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought. Okay. Yeah. So I forgot where my train of thought was. But
Yeah.
basically, yes, we need to find outlets, and I feel like there's not enough like communities, or like men. I don't even know how to say it, but like not interventions, but like group meetings, just as far as men
Just
being
talk.
able to lean on us and have conversations between us, because sometimes it is hard to open up to the opposite sex, or with fears of what they'll think, or if they'll sound weak or stuff like that. So I just feel like there should be more men groups out there.
Yeah, and they do have them through like churches. It's, if you're really into that sort of thing, you probably can find them in other places too. But I know, particularly in churches, they have it like for the men's group. They might have like dinners and stuff like that. What do you think, Evan?
Definitely in churches for sure. I'm in one in the church that I
Nice.
go to.
Nice.
So, for me, things like this, when I think about it, there's a lot of things that play, like a lot of factors in things like this. Judgment, culture. Some cultures, it's like the men are supposed to do this and provide, and like you said, have this like strong like persona, and like you have to be the leader and like not really express yourself. And like, me personally, for myself, it took a little bit for me to kind of like, for me, the way I think about it is like, we all come with emotions, why can't we all, as just people, regardless of just men, why can't we be able to express it and talk to our friends and stuff like that? So for me, my group of people and people I keep around me, we talk, we talk about the struggles of our parents, the things we go through, like, and it helps rather than bottling it in and, letting it out on other people, or like you said, going into depression, and like just really showing that to your children, and then they pick it up, and then it just is like a cycle, and it keeps being passed on. So like I really do agree, and I go to church too, so it's like a community. Like it teaches you to be around a lot of people, so you learn to talk, you learn to understand that it's okay to express yourself as a man.
Yeah, that could definitely be challenging. I know, from a therapeutic standpoint, when I'm counseling men, it's like that silence over the other end of the line. Like some men will come in and they're fine, and then they already do have their defenses up. I'm a guy, I'm doing this, and why should I be open to you about my issue? Like they, and then it's just like, okay, as a therapist, I know I have to break that wall down. And it's like, okay, they're going to be this way because now they're stepping into a vulnerable, intimate space with someone they don't know. A woman may be easier just because, I guess, if you're talking to a guy as a therapist, if you're talking to a therapist who's a male, then it could be more challenging, the fact that you're crying in front of another male, or you may seem weaker in front of another male.
So many factors.
Yeah. So some guys may say that, I would prefer a female as a therapist, which is okay because we're receptive, we're understanding. Not to say that a male can't be. I really feel like it should, it could be the opposite end of it all, knowing that a guy should understand a guy internally and knowing where they're coming from. But it's hard sometimes. And then eventually, you do break down that wall and they do let loose, and, it becomes a beautiful thing to really work through all those emotions.
Yeah.
I had one guy, I don't know, I was working with him for a while, and he was like, well, yeah, you got to keep asking me questions. I'm a guy, I can't, I'm not going to, just say everything. And meanwhile, he's been talking to me the whole time. So, for a while. And it's like, all right, well, at this point, I would have expected, to just continue to have you talk and express yourself. Right. But I get it. I understand. Like maybe that's a continuous thing, and that's a habit that's hard to break loose of, to continue to do the work and push and support. So I learned something at that moment, as a therapist. So. All right. We'll be back after the break. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hey, this is Ricky Duran, and you're listening to Unity Radio on 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Graham Anderson, also known as Positively Suzanne, host of Black in Business, Thursdays at 5 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9. Black in Business is a series of conversations with influential members of the Black business community. These entrepreneurs knows what it means to risk everything to create successful businesses and spark positive changes in the community. So join us. Again, I'm Suzanne Graham Anderson, also known as Positively Suzanne, right here on Black in Business, Thursdays at 5 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Activa la radio y Unity Radio 97.9 FM te invitan a escuchar el bloque latino todos los sábados de 7 de la mañana hasta la 1 de la tarde por los 97.9 FM en la ciudad de Worcester.
Hi, I'm Randy Floyd, host of the Unity in the Community Show on Unity Radio 97.9. Join me and my guest as we discuss topics on embracing our diverse cultural communities, the music, the arts, and healthy lifestyles. I'm Randy Floyd, host of the Unity in the Community Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hey, what's up, Worcester? It is Jacqueline Carr, and I'm inviting you to be inspired with me each weekday morning starting at 5 a.m. with the Jacqueline Carr Show on Unity Radio. I'll get you going with the motivating words, special guests, and the absolute best inspirational music, and a few other surprises. But you got to tune in to Unity Radio every day at 5 a.m. to get your praise on. It's the Jacqueline Carr Show from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. right here on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection, and also streaming on WUTY.org.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Myers, host of Talking Wellness, and you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers. I'm Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And we are sponsored by the Kiva Centers, and you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. And we're back with Reyes. Welcome back.
Welcome back. How you doing?
Good. All right. So before the break, I really wanted to get into some other stuff regarding like the steps coming from particularly you, Jorell, and you, Kelvin, right? Putting you guys in this space of, men who can speak on this. And, as a therapist, I can navigate this while I'm in session with the male, right? And because I'm just doing what I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll add to what you guys say also. But from your perspective, what do you think are some good ways to open up, to have men open up? Like, how do we unravel? Like, how do we peel away the onions?
That's tough. I feel, for me, again, personally, I feel it's good to get in touch with spiritual side, of course. For me, praying does a lot, especially out in the open, like, declare it, speak, have conversations with God. It helps process your thoughts, and it helps you like prepare to open up. I feel like it softens the heart. But another thing I do also is journal. Journaling is huge.
Yes.
That helps me. And again, I don't know. I've gotten told that it's kind of like, oh, you journal, like what are you? Like you have a diary, but I think we gotta look past that because it's really beneficial.
Yes, we would highly recommend that. Excuse me. We would highly recommend journaling. It really is a way to allow the subconscious to surface. Instead of calling a friend up and talking to them, you really can go back and process what you've written. Also, some people journal and they're like, oh, I can't believe they look back. Oh, I can't believe I felt that way. Or I've come really far as well. And prayer, meditation is definitely, spending time with yourself. I would always recommend that as a therapist as well, is to spend time with yourself, speak to a higher power, whether it be God, Christ, or whoever you believe in. And just sit with those thoughts, right? Stay connected, to something that you believe in, because that also keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So journaling is good for everybody, whether you do it now on an email, if you don't trust, some people may not trust anyone. It's like if you have like someone you live with and they're like invasive or intrusive, you might worry about that. You can always write something down on a sheet of paper and then later burn it. You can, again, you do things on your laptop too, and just kind of code it as like whatever you want to code it as. And that's like your place to go to write, so those are important factors. What do you think, Kelvin?
Just to really add on to being in touch with God and praying, I definitely agree with everything you said, but it also allows you to be honest with yourself because you're able to like, kind of give everything to God, talk about it. I also, for myself, I feel like the people around me that I've, not a big circle, but the few people I do have around me, I try to encourage them to speak out. So then it's like, we're all going through the same things. We all have the experience, the lived experience with it. So it creates a easier space for us to speak. So, having those around you that can help you express yourself and they're also doing the same thing, it really goes really far. I also try to like keep myself like, okay, like I sleep, like if I know things aren't okay, I try to rest. I go to the gym. I do a lot of things to kind of keep my physical grounded in order for I can talk and process things and just unravel.
Right. And I think like we talk about a lot of what men go through, like depression is very debilitating. I don't know what it is about men as they get older, right? And I think this is a result of not doing any of these things, right? Holding things in. But it seems to be a trend among men where they get older, they become withdrawn. They're loners, they want to stay in the house. They're all in their secretive in their thoughts, you know what I mean? So that's really like from what I notice. And I can notice that from my partner. I'll talk to other people, they may notice it from their partner. And I'm like, what is this trend? And I'm like, this is just crazy. And especially from what I'm dealing with, like the men that come in and the, the ones that I'm counseling, that's great, right? Because they're already there. They're through the door. They're trying to deal with it. But it's just holding all of that in and what that does to a person and how that eats them inside, sucks the life out of them, right? Because eventually, and like I tell people, how long can you hold something like that in before it starts to hurt you?
No, definitely. That's important to be aware of. But to double down on what Kelvin said, it definitely is very important. Your circle, the people who are in your circle, you need to be aware of that first. I feel like that's one of the foundational pieces. And also to be courageous and to also speak your testimony, speak your experiences, because usually I've seen in counseling and in the work that I do, once somebody opens up, then it's like, oh, I feel like that too. And then somebody else has the courage to speak up. So it just takes that step. But yeah, holding all that in is definitely bad. And working out is definitely a good outlet too. So you just got to find ways to be grounded.
Yeah, it's very common. And then, they're not taking care of themselves and then they can't because they're stuck with those thoughts. Like if something happens to me, like say if I learn something, like if something's going on with my kids, like I know what that does to me. Like I might be thrown, I might be derailed, right? Because it's like something's happening, there's a change, how do I deal with that? How do I process it? So I can imagine like for men who haven't dealt with these issues all these years and it's suppressed, what that eventually does to them. Like they're not eating the way they used to. They're probably engaging in substance use. They're not going to the gym. So then, they're not taking care of their health, that sort of thing. They don't want to talk to anyone. They're very emotional.
I feel like, some men just don't know how to heal.
Yeah.
They don't know what the process is, or it's like they'll acknowledge something is off and something's going on. But like you said, kind of like just hold it in until, you get to that breaking point. And it's like, from the generation I come from, I'll definitely say the people I grown up in high school and things like that. A lot of people, it took them a long time to kind of like let go of situations like breakups, or if somebody did something to them, it was like they held and they're like, the next person is gonna do that to me, or the next situation is gonna be the same. So it's like, in a way, it's like you sabotage yourself, sabotage that next person or that next situation, and then you're like in that funk for so long. And then,
Right. I try to hold on to the men that come into the counseling sessions because I'm like, don't back out of this. Like, I know it's vulnerable. Like, I'm saying this in the back of my mind, but I'll try to put that across too and like really encourage, because it's like you're in a good place. We just have to get to a place where you're comfortable and where you can kind of let out a lot of, stuff, and no one's going to know about it. Like, you're in a safe space, confidentiality, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I have 3 boys. So, I'm such a girl here. What did God do to me? Yes, and they're rambunctious. I try to allow them to be free spirited, kind of go off their personality. Me and the father just really working with them to express themselves and just be comfortable and confident men. And if they need to cry, allow them to cry. That sort of thing. Certain things like my husband may get on me about, like, don't tell them not to cry, but some things aren't necessary. It's like, okay, you're okay. You got a boo-boo. You think you have a boo-boo, it's fine. You're not bleeding, so you don't need like 10 million Band-Aids, because it's all psychology. I like to put a Band-Aid on them, even though they're not bleeding, and then they're better, right? So, so it's interesting to pay attention to those things and, just be in tune with that. And if they like pink, they like pink. Not that they do, but it's just, as a therapist looking at what we're dealing with nowadays, I'm not going to stray them away from that, right? If that's what if they like, but, it's just recognizing them for who they are and just making them comfortable in their own skin and not trying to live according to someone else's norms, right? Trying to make their own norms and be comfortable again in their skin, their color, their culture.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of unlearning
Yes.
to start the process of healing. And also something that works or has been working for me is just like challenging yourself and your willpower, and breaking down that myth of like, oh, I'll do it when I'm motivated, because like there's a lot of times where I'm not motivated. You really need to work on discipline as men, because I think that goes a long way, for sure.
Yeah. And it's like no day but today, right? If you don't do it, it's like once you start working out, it's like you're into it. And then after a while you fall off and you're just like, you got to be disciplined and you got to understand like why this is important. And that's all about engaging in self-talk, right? And telling yourself, like, if you're not motivated, this is what I'm going to do. This is why I'm going to do it. You got to have that talk with yourself. That's why it's so important, like to motivate yourself. It's like telling someone else to do it. And how I have clients do it is imagine it like you're telling someone else to do it, but instead you're telling yourself to do it, right? You're having that conversation with yourself. And then eventually you'll get up, because we're already telling ourselves we don't want to do something or we don't want to heal, right? But we have to understand the significance behind it and walk ourselves through that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And definitely something else will help me is knowing your identity in God, like what God thinks of you. And also, like you said, back to the positive self-talk, I feel like a lot of men probably do a lot of negative self-talk. I'm a loser, or I'm not good enough, or
get into your head.
I mean? You need to definitely nip that in the butt and change that, flip the script, because self-talk is important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of power in that. So I like that you brought like God into it, right? And you said you're trying to do a lot through the gospel and that sort of thing. We'll touch on it a little bit. Actually we'll talk about it when we get back from the break, because I don't want to start something and then we just have to cut off, because this is going to be really nice and juicy, I think. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. We'll be
Cash on the ones and twos. Unity Radio 97.9 FM. Worcester's Community Connections.
Hi, I'm Storm, and I'm a part of the Bruce Wells Scholars Upward Bound program. The Upward Bound program is a program that helps many promising low-income, first-generation, college-bound Worcester High School students. After joining this program, I've learned many different and important life skills while making new connections and getting real-world experiences through internships and classes. If you're interested in any of these opportunities, you can find more information at www.sevenhills.org or 617-866-1293. That's www.sevenhills.org or 617-866-1293. A brighter future begins with you.
At KivaCenters.org, we believe every story matters and healing starts with being heard. The Kiva Centers are here to explore the paths of mental health, recovery, and wholeness with you. Visit KivaCenters.org, a statewide leader in peer-led support and recovery services, from Worcester to Western Mass. More information is available at KIVACenters.org. Kiva is lighting the way forward.
Tune in to Affirmations with Alex, and together we will affirm our way to a healthier mindset by listening to empowering messages. Hi, I'm Alex from Affirmations with Alex. Join me every Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Q, host of the Woo 508, and I'm here with
Your girl Liza, Miss Consistency.
And it's your girl Chantel in the building.
Yes, y'all. Go ahead and follow us everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, the Woo 508. That's THEWOO 508.
Tell me again. Roll me a bone. Step into the Woo 508. Now you in the zone.
You're listening to Unity Radio, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. And we're back with Rel.
Hey, guys.
Hey, welcome back. All right. So I want to get into this great topic about God and like discipline and how does that fall into a lot of what we've been talking about. Is particularly with men, right? This can really kind of relate. Anyone can relate to it, but just for the sake of the conversation and what you do and how you're trying to inspire other men, let's talk a little bit about that and your work in that with God.
Yeah, definitely. Well, honestly, all started during COVID, which is funny. Somebody had just given me a Bible, beautiful Bible, and I was like, oh, I don't really know if I want it or whatnot, and then just, I don't believe in coincidence in life. So just things coming along and seeing that, you should read the scripture for yourself. You should read the Bible for yourself, because people just cherry pick at what they want people to hear. And then, that's the message you get. But there's so much good information and wisdom in scripture in the Bible. And just using that to, like I said, when you know your identity in God and like what God thinks of you and what, that's your purpose, that everything is planned, that he could turn bad things into good things. It helps your positive self-talk. It helps build your faith. It helps build your confidence. And then it just makes everything easier to put in the work. And then you don't feel so ashamed or embarrassed,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And having something to ground you with that. Kelvin, you want to add?
Yeah. Honestly, having faith in God and understanding when things aren't going so well, trusting and understanding and knowing that he's still gonna like be there for you and like, push you through. And like, a lot of people tend to ask, oh, why does God put me through these bad things? I never really necessarily think of it as God putting people through bad things. Things happen. Bad things can definitely happen. And I feel like being able to keep that faith when things are going well or things are going bad, it helps you stay disciplined and remind you and help you have that like encouraging self-talk and to like always tell yourself those bad days, like you said, like you're not gonna be motivated every day. You're gonna have those days. We're all human, but it's like being able to keep that faith and that consistency with God, it kind of opens up everything else, all the things you're trying to do and all your achievements and goals. So, it both works hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. I strongly believe in higher power and really just I don't know. I don't know if it's just the humor in me sometimes or what, but like just when things are not the best, it's just you just have this positive energy. Like you just get this surge, like you know it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay,
Oh yeah.
right? Um, because why would God or someone put you through something like this,
Exactly.
right? And just having that trust and faith to know, like, yeah, we all go through things, life happens, but to know that you continuously have trust in God to kind of lead you and go in the right
Yeah.
direction. Mhm. And for whatever you believe in higher power, right? It's all about that. So tell us a little bit more about your podcast and like, what you do on there. I know you said it's like an off and on thing that you do. It's not something you consistently um get into or engage in.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, it was an idea I had. It's called
Mhm.
the Big Bro podcast. I am a big brother.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel like we just need that big bro, to
Mhm.
hold men accountable, but to also have these tough conversations and to be relatable and to just uplift each other and encourage each other. So basically, I try to pick topics that would be beneficial to men. Like I had a podcast about how to build confidence, and I had
Mhm.
a podcast about emotional intelligence, like what is emotional intelligence, and things like that. And like I said, also in my music now, I try to, just put my spirituality in there and also just have it be positive, so that because again, music is a great outlet for me and just to listen as well as to make. But a lot of the music we listen to, sad to say, is just people wonder why they're mad or depressed all the time. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
the eyes and the ears are the gates, and you're listening to music that's talking about depression all the time or talking about violence all the time. It's like it's no
It can be
reason why it's coming up.
possessive. It can be very
Mm.
possessive. You're possessing a certain spirit. You're growing that spirit, and so it's like if you're listening to highly sexually intense music, like you're gonna be, you know what I mean? You're gonna exude that. Or if you're, like you said, listening to depressive music, you're always gonna be thinking about things that have happened in the past or that bad breakup or what's
Oh
going on
yeah.
in your life. And I think gospel music is pretty good. I like
I was
Kirk
just about
Franklin.
to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yeah.
Like it's very uplifting. And I don't always listen to gospel music. Like I'm just like worldly. I like all types of music.
Yeah,
But I agree, like listening to one type of music all the time, it can't be beneficial, right? So I do like uplifting music, things that are just gonna put me in the right headspace, make me feel good about myself, give me positive thoughts.
definitely.
Yeah.
Christian rap is good too. I like my Christian rap. There's a lot of good
Yeah.
Christian
So
rap
is that what
out
you
there,
do
bro.
for music? Like tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I don't like to put myself in a box because I don't, there's a lot of judgment when it comes to saying you're a Christian rapper, but just my focus is on just making positive music, not making music about violence, not making,
Mhm.
making things people relate to. If again, to say that secular music is not a bad thing. There's always a time and a place for everything, but just to be aware of how much and how often, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So holding men accountable. So so like
Just
as a
gonna ask, yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Just to like, for the viewers, the men, or even like, you said you're a mother with 3 children, just to
3 boys, yep.
3 boys, sorry.
No, it's okay.
How is it to hold another man accountable? Like, being a big brother, like you said, sometimes it's hard for 2 men to sit in a room and like even express themselves and talk. So how can you really hold somebody accountable and allow them to take that feedback as like, constructive criticism, not like, oh,
Mhm.
somebody's coming at me or controlling me or what the case may be. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It could get kind of hard sometimes, but I think again, not to bring everything back to spiritualness, but
Yeah.
that's you got to do that with kindness. You know what I mean? Be aware also like of their body language, everything as well. When you're pushing too hard, and also I feel like it helps when I feel like I'm reaching that breaking point. Then that's when I'll internalize my stuff and be like, oh, I remember this time where I did this, and this is what I did, and even if it's a fail or a success story, and
Mhm.
then it kind of like takes the pressure off of them, and it also they can learn from it.
Mhm.
So I don't know. It's definitely hard though, because some people do it and it's like, oh, I'm holding you accountable, but then it ends up doing more harm than good, and then they shut down.
Mhm.
So definitely lead with kindness, but also it takes the other person being aware and like knowing when to push and like push buttons and not whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you mean by pushing buttons?
Like knowing, and it's hard because like if you're talking to a stranger, you won't know these things. But like if you're talking to a family member or somebody close to you, just knowing like what triggers them, and like I said, being aware of their body language and stuff like that, knowing just how far to push, because that's another thing too. I feel like in the times we're living in, I feel like a lot of it gets enabling, or people enable it sometimes.
Right.
Like, and again, there's a time and a place for it. I don't know if I'm making much sense, but like with depression, people will say, "Oh, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to do that." But for how long? If it's like 2-3 years, like no, man. Like you need to get up off your butt. You need to go out, try new things, and you need to try to get up out. You can pray for so long, but prayer is supposed to be a seed. You need to take action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about the kind of accountability part.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Get off the couch. And some people need that, Absolutely. Okay. And so with this journey, are you feeling like what other inspirations are you looking at as far as taking us to the next step? Because I really do think we need someone like you in the community, and someone really pushing to get the word out there, letting them know like, hey, I'm a guy. I've also, I know what this is like, it's okay,
You mean like what are my next steps, or
Yeah,
what
with
inspired me?
with the podcast and everything, right?
Okay, yeah, no, I definitely hope to be more consistent, for sure. And I like this format where it's like it's live, so like viewers can have questions or comments like that, instead of doing more like shoot the content and then just put it out there.
Right.
So definitely trying to be more consistent with that. I'm trying to get more involved in my church and take more leadership positions, because I also am not afraid, but I guess anxious about things like that. And also,
Yeah.
the negative self talk. I'll be like, oh, well, I'm not that I'm not good enough, but oh, there's somebody better than me that's a better talker or stuff like that. So just trying to change my positive self talk to be able to do that. And then as far as like who inspires me, I think reading is very important as a man. Journaling and reading, like journaling is the actual thought process. You're putting your thought processes down, but reading is like retaining like the knowledge and challenging your different perspectives and paradigm shifts and all that. So it's definitely very important. But I listen, Jason Wilson is a great guy, a great author. He has 2 best-selling authors. I'm actually reading a book, The Man the Moment Demands. Is a great book. This other book I read is called Outwitting the Devil. I think I forgot who the author is, but like I said, reading, those are definitely, my inspiration that helps me with the stuff I say and make.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's hard to reach people, I know. Like it really is hard to like, you don't want to go to extremes, but with your podcast, like, do you have a lot of audiences? Do you have people listening in? People connecting with you? You have a huge following on Facebook, I think.
Yeah.
I did see
Not definitely where I want it to be, but like I said, I haven't been consistent, and that's where the consistency part comes in. But also making music too and trying to gel it together. So I know the people that do listen are kind of fans of my music, or obviously, close ones and friends and family and stuff like that. But hopefully I could, get a more bigger audience and influence, and who knows.
Absolutely.
I also would love to write a book. I should probably write a book someday or something. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Put all that knowledge in, so go ahead.
Just a quick question, just before we break off, for both of us to think about, for both of y'all.
Yeah.
So as a clinician, psychologist, having clients, for what you do. So for those who don't follow God, and for those who kind of, struggle with like, having something to hold on to keep them going, how do you kind of teach them to do the things like journaling, and how do you kind of like get to them and like talk to them and have them open up? Is the question I thought about for the both of y'all.
I always say it's what works, right? Like, is this something that you're able to do? If this something that you're not, because journaling can seem like another chore to someone, So I just don't assign it. But It's a good way to, at the end of your day, I might say, if you can't do it at the beginning of your day, do it at the end of your day, where you can sum up all your thoughts. You can kind of dump all your thoughts into the journal. That way your mind is clear so that you can go to bed and that sort of thing. But let's hold on to these thoughts. We'll definitely talk about it more right after the break. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers on Talking Wellness.
Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM. What's this community connection?
Unity Radio.
Just kicking around. We discovered a love that had never been found.
Worcester, we got you.
Hi, I'm Ernie Floyd, host of the Unity in the Community Show on Unity Radio 97.9. Join me and my guest as we discuss topics on embracing our diverse cultural communities, the music, the arts, and healthy lifestyles. I'm Ernie Floyd, host of the Unity in the Community Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Myers, your host on Talking Wellness, presented by the Kiva Centers on Unity Radio 97.9 FM. As a licensed mental health professional and leader in the field, I believe every story matters and healing starts with being heard. Whether you're navigating life's challenges or lifting others through theirs, I'm here to explore the paths of mental health, recovery, and wholeness. Tune into Talking Wellness on Unity Radio 97.9 FM every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for honest conversation and inspiration. This program is sponsored by the Kiva Centers, a statewide leader in peer-led support and recovery services. From Worcester to Western Mass, Kiva is lighting the way forward. Talking Wellness, every voice, every journey. Speak up, be heard, and of course, be well.
Recreation Worcester is a free year-round program for youth run by the City of Worcester. The program enriches this city's youth in athletics, arts, academics, and social-emotional learning activities. Food is provided for free of charge for all youth participating in the program. Learn more at the Worcester Recreation website, www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester. That's www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester.
Let's talk, Worcester. Unity 97.9.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Siobhan Myers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And we are sponsored by the Kiva Centers, and you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. And we're back. Well,
Hey, we're back. So I was thinking about that question because that was a hard question. That was a great question, Kelvin.
welcome back.
But if you want, in case the viewers forgot, we got new viewers. If you want to repeat the question.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So pretty much just for those, not everybody is a believer of God. Not everybody practices that, So it's like for those who, as a big brother or the roles you play in our community, how do you kind of like, respect that or kind of like preach the gospel to those and they may be interested in, going about those ways? And how do you get people to journal?
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to say, I think presenting it as a challenge and putting limits on it, like, hey, let's do it for a week, see how it goes. I think that is helpful, especially because, men were competitive. So, and it puts a limit. So it's like, oh, it's not going to do it forever. And then after it, have a follow-up and be like, hey, so do you see benefit in it? Like Siobhan said, whatever works. Like, okay, if it doesn't work, let's brainstorm and do something else. Like maybe we'll write positive affirmations, put it in the jar. Every day I want you to write one positive affirmation, put it in a jar. At the end of the week, I want you to go through them and read them. So stuff like that, I feel like. And also the second thing I was thinking is just like, that's why it's important. Like people learn a lot through your example. So I need to be the man I'm talking about and be an example. Because when people look at me, they'll be like, oh, well, he's really well put together. It looks like he's, positive all the time. I want to know, they get curious. And then that's when you have your opportunity to share the gospel. And again, if they're receptive, if they're not receptive, that's not important. But you just talk about the work you're putting in, and then they'll encourage them to want to put in the work,
Yeah, absolutely. I like the journal prompts too. Like I'll always have that ready, or like people are like, where do I start? And then I'll like have journal prompts ready and then follow up in the next session. You don't have to tell me everything, but how did journaling go this week? What did you put in a journal? And it could be as simple as keeping track of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, right? Anything that you want to talk about and that sort of thing. So that's how I tend to do it. Whatever style, you know what I mean? And again, having them come back to the session and talking about it also holds them accountable for it too, if they're comfortable doing it.
Well, to answer, add on to it too,
Yep.
just for like those who like I support who come
Mhm.
to Kiva or even previous jobs, the clients, like adult children, I like to kind of allow people to know my journey with God, the things he's done for me, and kind of like, see how they react, see if they take interest into it. And like, I liked how you mentioned like being presentable and showing up for yourself and having that, like, I stand on what I believe and what I preach. So people want to like pick on you and what you've gone through. And then with the journaling, me myself, I wasn't really big on it. I started doing it a little bit. I started off with like notes on my phone. Like I have like, you can lock your if you have iPhone, you can like just doing simple things like that.
Yes.
And I would, the people I've supported or past job clients, like I talk to them and be like, it was nice to just jot down what I'm thinking, because like I'm not saying it to anybody, so I can't worry about judgment. It's just me, myself, and I. And I'm writing it down. I'm figuring out what I'm gonna do with it. Some of it I might throw it away because I didn't like what I wrote. But
Yeah.
it's nice. I like writing positive things about yourself, because it's hard to wake up with all the things you're dealing with, and then you take a second to be like, you know what, I'm this and that. I'm a good person. It's hard. So just to add on to it.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I usually try to have clients write a letter to themselves. That starts the healing process.
That's good. Yeah.
Like, because whoever's done us wrong, whatever we've been through, whoever's put us in a situation to feel disgruntled about life, a lot of the times we're not going to get that apology we're waiting for. We could be upset about it, but this person is still living their life and probably still doing the same thing to others or moving on with their life. And everyone deserves to move on. And if you're not going to have closure with the person that you want to have closure with, it's best to have closure with yourself at least, so that you can move forward. So to onset the healing process, I'll have clients write a letter to the person that really upset them. They don't give the letter to the person. That's a whole nother ordeal, but you can burn it after, you can sit on it, whatever you want to do for a little bit before burning it or shredding it. I know, don't want anyone burning their homes down. I would say to clients, and I'm like, wait a minute, don't do that. Like, for the ones that I feel like might be too excited about that. But, or you can write a letter to yourself, right? You would go back to that time where you felt really hurt, absent. You might say, hey, 9-year-old Siobhan, I'm sorry you've been through A, B, C, and D. You were really great. You were awesome. And you kind of go into it. That sparks something though, and a lot of people are not ready, because it's a really emotional task, because you are revisiting a time that wasn't the best, and you're digging deep into it, and you have to write something to your younger self, your hurt self, your abused self, whatever self that was damaged. But what that does too is allow you to go back, correct that for yourself, and move on and move forward.
Yeah.
Or you can do it for someone who's passed away too, that you really didn't get.
I was going to mention that I had a group. Well, I have a group at Kiva Expressive Art. We had these postcards and we wrote it to like our past selves or family members who've passed, or friends, any situation. Like it was really emotional hearing, and it was nice to like people were in a space where they're reading it to other people around them that don't even know them. So it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Very emotional. It can be. Some people tear up just because you can go deep. Some people are really angry when they're writing letters to other people, and that's fine because you're letting it out. You're putting it out there, and then you're shredding it, right? And you're letting it go. But before you shred it or burn it, you have to be ready to let go. What I tell people is that you do not look back. That's hard. It's a very spiritual task too. It's like if you're doing the work, some spirituality stuff, you can't look back. You can't go back. You have to be willing to let that go. Because you've let it out. There's nothing else to go back once you've depleted yourself of that emotion. What else is there, unless we're wanting to stay in that state? And for what? Just to hold someone else accountable for something we should be taking control of, right? And so we need to learn at some point in our life, if we're no longer in that situation, we're no longer in that environment, we owe it to ourselves to take control and no longer hold that person accountable for what was done. But it's on us now to allow ourselves to move forward and to breathe.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. So that's tough. And therapy it's a lot of work. It's not, it does take a while. People are like, when am I going to be done with this? I'll have a couple. No, it might take a while depending on the intensity of your situation, but you really do have to do the work. And it's hard for people not to look back, but it's also putting you in a state. It's also putting you in that place to not look back.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do, that's on you. No one else, right? You're putting yourself back in that, not that person. So yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's good for visual learners too. People like visually need to see it like shredded or, now it's gone. You got it out. Now it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell my clients when we talk about it, like when you're ready, are you ready to shred it? Are you ready to burn it properly? Right. And if you're ready to shred it, some people might be like, okay, I'm ready now. Cause some people are not ready to let go of those feelings and emotions. And so it's just like for New Year, if you accumulate everything, for the new year, whatever, you take it, you put it in a letter, you burn it, that's it. You leave it behind and you move forward. Mm-hmm. And it's hard because I've been there, but you have to tell yourself, I've already shredded. I already let go. Let me move forward. And you're shedding that part of you.
Change is hard,
It is hard. It's a huge adjustment. Do you guys find that to be as men that it is hard to change?
Definitely.
I always feel like men are creature of habits though.
Yeah, most definitely.
I really do.
I like my routine,
Yes. You fall into
safe,
it.
it's what I know. It's familiar.
Yes, that nice cushion. Yeah. So it can be challenging. All right. So, Rel, thank you for coming on the show today. Any last thoughts or something inspirational you want to share with the audience or viewers?
Yeah, definitely. First I want to apologize. I should have said Happy Veterans Day and thank you to all the veterans that, have dedicated, who have sacrificed. You are not, forgotten, and we appreciate everything you do. So definitely shout out to them. Shout out to you guys, the Unity Radio, Siobhan, Kelvin.
And is it your birthday today?
My birthday's tomorrow, so hopefully it's a good
Happy early birthday.
Celebrating for the whole week, But just if anybody's hearing this, if they are still stuck or if they haven't opened up, just take that chance. Pick on something that we talked about on here and just take that first step. And I promise that it's gonna be a journey. Like you said, it's gonna be hard. Nothing worth it is ever easy, but definitely you're not alone. And we need to definitely start putting the work in because we could take control of our inner selves, and that's the most luckiest and way you're gonna have control of your environment. That's the only way we have control of our environment is by controlling ourselves first. So put in the work. Don't be scared.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, happy that crossed my mind, and I'm like, I got into a whole nother conversation. Your birthday and that, and I was like, I got to say those two things. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, and hopefully we'll have you back in the near future. I'm your host, Siobhan Maliers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.